Hello Thedosians, I am here today with Jackdaw to explain 6 fan theories that must come true in the next Dragon Age installment.
We've been researching and tinfoiling away on many popular theories that plenty of others have theorized as well.
Please note, these are all theories and we would love to hear your ideas in the comments section below. There's no right or wrong when it comes to speculation.
But without further ado, put those tinfoil hats on and strap seatbelts to your ears because we're going to take them for the ride of their lives.
Let's go!
The stone is silent. The rhythm has faded, and so have the tremors. But the song still echoes. It tells me things. The breach, that's what disturbed the Titan. It is calm now that it has a connection with one of its children. With me.
Theory. I believe the Blight emerged from a blighted Titan. The origin of the Blight is quite the mystery throughout Thedis, with many sources having their own validation on how the Blights began. Chantry folk talk about a maker casting the Blight onto his failed creations as a plague for punishment of man's excessive pride. In Thedosians, the Chant of Light exclusively condemns the Kingsmen of the Tevinter Imperium for the Blight's existence. However, Tevinter's Imperial Chantry claims that the Chant of Light is a fabrication, a lie to spite the Imperium. Henceforth, the Imperial Chantry believes that the Darkspawn have always existed, even before the Blights. The main culprits for the blackening of the Golden City and mankind's corruption are the lies of the old gods, not mortal pride. Contradicting the Chantry's tale of the Blight, as history recalls, it was the Dwarven kingdoms that were the first to fall to the Darkspawn. While the Dwarves don't really care for the Blight's origin or what causes it, a pair of Dwarven scouts do believe that the Darkspawn were created by a queen brood mother, the first in existence responsible for breeding all Darkspawn. Even the Grey Wardens believe that the Blight is a spiritual corruption that pervades all it touches and that all archdemons must be destroyed in order to stop any future Blights. Now, according to Solas, this is untrue. He indicates that killing all the archdemons would not stop the Blights. The hordes of Darkspawn would still continue to ravage Thedis. He knows that there is something much worse that's behind the Blight. So the majority of humans in Thedis either believe the Maker created the Blight or the Blight already existed in the Black City, while the Dwarves don't really care as long as the Blight can be stopped, and the Grey Wardens are adamant that the Archdemon's deaths will end the Blight. In short, it seems that no one in Thedis knows what caused the Blight, and those few who do dare say a word. However, there is something that we do know regarding the origin of the Blight. The substance known as red lyrium is intrinsically tied to the Blight, because red lyrium actually has Blight within it, spreading the taint.
I found out that red lyrium... it has the blight, Varric. Do you know what that means?
Regular lyrium is the blood of the world-shaping titans. The substance empowers magic because it is a conductor that bridges the gap between the dreamer's world and the waking world. It's used by mages to strengthen magical abilities and spells, while Templars use it to maintain their immunity to magic and repel spells. However, red lyrium is blighted titan blood, corrupted and distorted, carrying this plague throughout the land. Unlike regular lyrium, which requires you to digest it in order for it to impact you, just being around red lyrium will significantly affect you. The substance is most unique. It can thin the veil, allowing spirits and demons to interact with the real world. Prolonged exposure will change not only your mental outlook, but your physical appearance too. When a Templar ingests red lyrium, it improves their powers, grants them new ones, and pushes their strength beyond measures. Once consumed, you can become easily addicted to it. The more a Templar ingests, the more likely it is for the red lyrium to manifest, descending the subject into pure madness and crystallizing their body until it is pure red lyrium, not being recognized as having once been a human. What's most concerning is how red lyrium came to be. This mystery still eludes us today. However, we can assume that it comes from a titan, more apropos, a blighted titan. Based on ancient codex entries, we know that in the time before the Veil, the kingdom of the Elven hunted and declared war against the Titans. Mafal, the god of justice, personally slew a Titan, destroying the dwarf kingdom. With the defeat of a Titan, the ancient elves discovered lyrium from its body. The elves continued to fight with the Titans, mining their body for lyrium and something else. Potentially, this something else could have been the hearts of a Titan that could control the will of the Fade. Lyrium has plenty of benefits to a mage. However, if Titans created the Fade, perhaps their hearts can change the very will of the Fade, and that's why the elven people needed to slay one so they could acquire a heart and change their reality. Believing that the Titans were slain, the elves resumed their lyrium mining operations until something changed. The normal lyrium became red lyrium, affecting the workers at an alarming rate. Nothing could stop this. The blight spread through red lyrium onto the elven workers, killing them and turning them into tainted ghouls. With their meddling, the Evanurus already knew what the blight could do even to them and their people. They figured out that the Titan was not really dead, and since the blight infects only living beings, they had no choice but to seal the mining place. The Evanurus returned to the surface, using red lyrium as a weapon, becoming mad. Mafal protests and is betrayed and slain. Solas forges a trap for the remaining Evanurus, creating the Veil and sealing the tainted gods away. Not only did the Veil's creation lock away the blighted Evanurus, but the Veil was needed to prevent the Titans from waking up.
He broke the dreams to stop the old dreams from waking. The wolf chews its leg off to escape the trap.
In some regards, Solas saved the Elven Kingdom by severing the connection the Titans had with their children. Now finally, we make it to the theory. Before the Veil, the Titans exacted their revenge, blighted and breaking the seals of its prison with its newly acquired slaves, the Elven people. The Titan mentally called the dwarves and made them break the seals from outside, thus freeing it, and in turn affected them with the taint and made them its slaves, a corrupted form of a hive mind. It planned to strike vengeance upon the Evanurus, and after some time through its newly acquired slaves, it found the prisons of the sleeping old gods and decided to infect them too, planning to unleash the taint upon Thedis. The old gods, now slaves of the blighted Titan and the generals of its army, they command the entire Darkspawn horde, and in turn they are commanded by the Titan to do its bidding. Whether the blight came from the Titans like a defense mechanism or a plague to defend itself from hostile forces, or if the ancient elves or forbidden ones concocted the blight by using blood magic on a slain Titan, it is still unknown. The blight could simply be a natural infection. Red lyrium might just be a Titan cancer, a piece of their biology mutating midlife and turning into something destructive and dangerous. That's why the blight has many Titan properties. It has a hive mind because Titans have hive minds. It sings because Titans sing. With the Veil in place, the Titans returned to a remorseful slumber, angry because they can't reconnect with their children, awaiting the chance to embrace them once more. This yearning anger has manifested throughout the years with the growth of red lyrium and the Blight's progress. The Titans have a strong connection to the Fade, or at least an association with it. When the Magisters used blood magic to physically cross the Veil and enter the Black City, the re-established connection between the physical world and the dreaming Fade unleashed the Blight again. With the Veil's destruction, surely a Blight the likes of which we have never seen before would be released onto Thedis. The Titans' pain will be heard by all. We are here, we have waited, we have slept, we are sundered, we are crippled, we are polluted. We endure, we wait, we have found the dreams again. We will awaken.
Bright and brilliant, he wanders the ways, walking, unwaking, searching for wisdom.
Theory. I believe Solus is a spirit of wisdom or pride in the time of Arlathon. Let's start at the beginning, his name. Solus, in Elven, means pride. Pride is mentioned a lot in ancient Elven texts, and it's used in the common dialogue of ancient Elven tongue. But the only time pride is mentioned throughout the knowledge of spirits and demons, pride is represented as a demon. Pride demons are known as probably the most powerful demons out there, because they, among all their kind, most resemble men, as clever and manipulative as the Desire demon, with a penchant for cruel irony that is almost human. In its corrupted form, it is a malicious beast, known for its 7 eyes, much like the Dreadwolf's depiction in its given mural. Now, there's a lot of spirits we have met in the Fade throughout Thedis. In this case, wisdom spirits are known for giving knowledge of either lore or history from the past ages. The thing about a spirit's nature is that it's evident who they are and what their name describes them as, so it's easy to interpret their purpose. Cole as compassion fixes up relationships, mourning those of the dead, and help resolve hard situations in which is hard without the need of compassion. The hard thing to notice is that if a pride demon resembles so much of humanity and wisdom is the opposite spectrum of pride, wisdom would also resemble this trait of being human, making Solus that much easier to tie into our reality.
Wisdom and purpose are too easily twisted to pride and desire.
The Chant of Light says, "The spirits are the first children of the Maker. He turned his back on them because they lacked a soul. They could twist the fate to their liking but lacked the ability to imagine and create, and thus emulate their creator." The only entity we can come across in ancient Elven would be Elgranon. Elgar is translated in Elven to mean spirit. Non translated to be revenge or vengeance. So it directly translates as spirit of revenge or vengeance, whom Elgranon's purpose as a god is as well. Thus, the Evaneers could all be implemented as spirits first and came into existence into a body. The Fade began as an ocean of dreams and was reduced to a well when the Maker used its emerald waters, lyrium. He took from the Fade a measure of its living flesh and created men.
They made bodies from the earth, and the earth was afraid. It fought back, but they made it forget.
Solus begins to tell the Inquisitor that the Evaneers were remembered as gods due to a war against someone else, either the Forgotten Ones or the Titans. It doesn't seem to matter when the result seems to resonate in Solus so much more than what we would expect. I believe that when Mythal came to seek Solus for more wisdom when he was a spirit, she actually needed him for a war. What I mean is that he would now become seated as a left-hand man to Mythal, a general to help the people into justice needed for their power. Solus, probably being convinced for the time being as a spirit, comes into a body.
He did not want a body, but she asked him to come. He left a scar when he burned her off his face.
He becomes a guardian to her side, a servant of Mythal. Mythal describes those into her service more of a gift than a boon, so those who felt convinced for seeking knowledge or power must have been willing to be at her side just like Solus was.
You didn't do it to be right. You did it to save them.
Solus, what is Cole talking about? A mistake. One of many made by a much younger elf who was certain he knew everything.
Solus, as a wisdom spirit, had no desire to enter this world with a body, such as its limiting things it includes, but for whatever reason, she asked him to come, she being Mythal.
Barefaced but free, frolicking, fighting fierce. He wants to give wisdom, not orders.
Solus loathes his purpose. He's pride, but he seems to hate it. He wants to change, wants to be like wisdom, but that's not his purpose at this moment. He envies Cole's purpose as a spirit of compassion.
You don't need to envy me, Solus. You can find happiness in your own way.
He is sad to see his friends depart this world, knowing things are being forgotten, broken, and lost. But he will endure, and he will be their pride.
I saw what a blight did to Ferelden. If Wardens hadn't stopped it, there'd be no more Thedas.
Theory. Griffins aren't extinct, and the Grey Wardens are keeping it a secret. Fortress Weishaupt has stood through the ages as the Grey Warden's headquarters. It is located in the southern Anderfels. During the heights of the Warden's power, the fortress was a thriving place, accommodating thousands of Wardens and a large stable of Griffins. Griffins were heroic, winged beasts that battled with their Grey Warden counterparts in the previous Blights, as Warden and Beast shared an unbreakable bond throughout Weishaupt's history. Weishaupt has been a significant spot for the Grey Wardens since the beginning of the First Blight. Each of the defeated Old God remains are memorialized in Weishaupt's treasury, declaring the grand victory that the previous Wardens had claimed in the name of the group. However, in the current Dragon Age, Weishaupt has become a barren place. With only a garrison of a few hundred people, the Griffins are long extinct and the reigning First Warden is rarely present. As a faction throughout Thedas, the Grey Wardens have become incredibly irrelevant in the current Dragon Age, with the last blight that occurred over 10 years ago. In actuality, the Wardens have become a hindering, reckless group. And during the crisis of Corypheus' ascension to godhood, the Orlais Grey Wardens submitted themselves to Tevinter, so they could defeat the 2 remaining Old Gods and end the Blights once and for all. Once Thedas' only protectors, and now blinded by their own cause and arrogance, the Wardens couldn't see the real enemy right in front of them. And since those events, the group has become even more corrupt, with rumours reporting on broken ties between the leaders at Weishaupt and how a war awaits each and every one of them.
Rumours abound that they severed ties with their leaders at Weishaupt, and that a bitter war now rages between them. What becomes of Hawk is unknown, save that all news out of Weishaupt soon ends. Does the sudden silence indicate a battle within, or something far worse?
Weishaupt Fortress remains silent, having gone dark from the rest of the group. But why? What has caused the Weishaupt Wardens to stop communicating from the rest of the group? Was it merely to stop the corruption of the group from spreading, or is something even more aloof? Have the Wardens secured the cure for the Blight, or are they even further into their investigations into intelligent Darkspawn? Many people in Thedas are asking questions and pointing fingers towards the Wardens. Well, perhaps it's not as suspect as everyone in Thedas is making it out to be. Like the joining, there are plenty of things that the Wardens keep hidden from the average Thedosian. So what exactly could the Wardens of Weishaupt be harbouring that would force them to isolate themselves? Well, in 941 Dragon, several Warden recruits were assigned to Weishaupt to begin a research project into records from the 4th Blight. While there, one of the recruits discovered the diary of Aecia, a Grey Warden from the Exalted Age. Her journal revealed that there is a clutch of live griffins hidden in the Anderfels. The new Warden recruits successfully rescued the griffins and resolved to return them to Weishaupt, where the fortress will have many facilities to help the griffins re-establish themselves. Valia, one of the recruits who found the Griffin clutch, showed hesitation at informing the Wardens of her discovery. She spoke of the First Warden saying, "I don't trust them to place the Griffin's well-being over power or politics." Could the Wardens of Weishaupt be fighting over what is to come for these Griffins? Who controls them? How will they be raised? What their purpose will be? The sheer existence and resurgence of Griffins in the Dragon Age under the Grey Warden's control could have caused the need for a sudden silence across the group. If the people of Thedas knew this secret, or how the Griffins were forced to extinction in the first place, it could be quite the hindrance not only to the Grey Wardens, but to the young Griffin lives. And with the corrupted Wardens in the south, it may not be in Weishaupt's best interest to share this information with the rest of the Wardens, for fear of this secret being revealed. Perhaps this has caused a rebellion inside the fortress, splitting the group's leaders over the future of these Griffins, and if the people of Thedas deserve to know, with factions within the Grey Wardens both agreeing and disagreeing with sharing the news to the rest of the Wardens. Not only do questions arise regarding the existence of the Griffins, but even further, do the Grey Wardens even deserve to care for these beasts once more? 'Twas the Wardens who made them extinct in the first place. And so a mighty civil war brews in the Wardens HQ. Will what's left of the Griffins preserve in this age, or will the ignorance of the Wardens once more be an obstacle to the existence of these beasts? Can the Wardens rise up to their former glory, or will they soon meet their demise? As it stands, Weishaupt is silent. The Wardens are warring amongst themselves, while the fabled Griffins return to the Dragon Age.
If you destroyed the Veil, wouldn't the false gods be freed?
Theory. I believe the Evaneris will return once the Veil is torn. Solus's plan involves tearing down the Veil and restoring the time of the Elves. It is stated that when the Veil is torn, the Evaneris will return. But why does that not bode well?
They were arrogant and fickle. They warred amongst themselves. They had feuds, vendettas.
The Evaneris are known to be power-hungry tyrants. They use the bidding of their slaves for power. The more power they received, the more the threat they posed against the world.
Had I not created the Veil, the Evaneris would have destroyed the entire world.
It is stated that Falandine began wars to amass more slaves, and filled lakes as wide as oceans for those who wouldn't bow low to his shadow. And Drool made armors of the void, hunting the Forgotten Ones in the thrill of the hunt, and brought back plagues and spoke about madness, things forgotten. Gillenon made monstrous beasts that threatened both the skies of the heavens and the depths of the earth. She was even rumored to have used the body of slaves and animals as armor. Elganon casted down the sun onto the earth, seeping the life's blood onto the land. Eidolons were made by thousands of slaves built upon mountains, screaming his worship upon the lands.
You said that the elven gods went too far. What did they do that made you move against them?
They killed Mythal.
The Evaneris plotted out to kill the All-Mother of the Pantheon. They were so crazed by reaching for the ultimate power, they killed even their own kin to do so.
She cared for her people. She protected them. She was a voice of reason. And in their lust for power, they killed her.
The Evaneris warred against one another commonly. The Civil War began first with them being generals against the Forbidden and Forgotten Ones.
Long ago, there were two clans of gods. The Creators looked after the people. The Forgotten Ones preyed upon us.
After the war ended, generals became respected elders. Then kings, and finally gods. The Evaneris.
They banished those of that kin and rose up into godhood for their power. They sent them to belong in the abyss and thrive on things forgotten to somehow bring their people onto glory. However, that did not last. Slaves represented power to the Pantheon. Such power was not given freely. All were threatened by each of their knowledge and striked against one another to become the divine. When Mythal became a voice of reason to protect all of her own people, they killed her and began planning to gain power against all those who opposed them, making them almost unstoppable. But Solus then began a plan to stop this once and for all.
Van Harel was clever. He could walk among both clans of gods without fear, and both believed he was one of them. He went to each side and told them the other had forged a terrible weapon, a blade that would end the war.
Solus trapped both the gods by putting them in their respectful places, banishing them to an eternity of torment.
He sealed them both in their realms forever.
And when they finally went too far, I formed the Veil and banished them forever.
You banished the false gods. You didn't kill them.
He created the Veil to trap the false gods into their respective prisons.
They sleep, masked in a mirror, hiding, hurting, and to wake them... Where did it go?
The Evaneris were now trapped from destroying the world. Solus begins to state that he finally freed the elven people, but the results ended in destroying their world as well. But there are still some remnants of being alive to return once again for the Evaneris.
You met Mythal, did you not? The first of my people do not die so easily.
Since the Evaneris can return, I believe the remnants must already grasp some remains of beings in Thedos. Just as similar as to when the breach stirred a titan, the Evaneris could be having the same effect as well. There are no gods. There is only the subject and the object, the actor and the acted upon. Those with the will to earn dominance over others gain title not by nature but by deed. Let Anjul's bow crack, let Juné's fire go cold, let them build temples and lure the faithful with promises. Their pride will consume them, and I, forgotten, will claim power of my own, apart from them until I strike in mastery.
One day the magic will come back. All of it. Everyone will be just like they were. The shadows will part, and the skies will open wide. When he rises, everyone will see.
Theory. I believe the Dread Wolf will rise.
I walk the Dinan Sharal. There is only death on this journey. I would not have you see what I become.
It has already been claimed in the teaser trailer that the Dread Wolf will rise. Solas, the next antagonist, will rise up against the opposers in the next installment. However, the Dread Wolf rising doesn't have to be him doing so physically, but rather rising up to take responsibility in ending our Veil-like world, to restore his elven people.
I will save the elven people, even if it means this world must die.
Particularly, what will Solas rise up to do when ending our world? The mural we saw looks as if the Dread Wolf is rising much higher above the elven bald figure, and poses as a threat with its red eyes. Could Solas be looking for a source of power to rise against the Veil?
I would have entered the Fade using the mark you now bear. Then I would have torn down the Veil. As this world burned in the raw chaos, I would have restored the world of my time. The world of the elves.
At the beginning of the Inquisition's formation, Solas kept at a nearby village to retrieve the orb that carried power over a period of time for millennia. Solas's plan was to retrieve the orb after Corypheus had died, unlocking it, and then have the mark which the Inquisitor bears. The entire time, his plan for this world was to destroy it and revive the world of his time with the Elven and also the evil Evanurus. He gave the orb to Corypheus so it could gain enough power to tear down the Veil, which is what he wanted all along. He would have risen up to power and created a plan to destroy the Evanurus before they got their chances of gaining ultimate power. I believe that not only his first personal plan involves him rising up to power against the Pantheon, but that he also rose from a slumber he took. Solas now has awoke to a tranquil-like world and will begin his journey to go against the forces of this world, seeking help where he can reach with spirits and the Elven, and then opening the Veil in the sky and rendering the Fade unto the waking world as one.
The orb had built up magical energy while I lay unconscious for millennia. I was not powerful enough to open it.
Solas seemed quite sad when the orb broke. After all, the orb was the key to opening the Alluvians and the Fade. After defeating Corypheus, Solas's last chance after the orb broke was to reach out to Mafal and gain enough power to tear down the Veil. He takes the remnants that she bestows to him and he begins his journey to rise up against the Veil. He starts by taking control over the Alluvians, unleashing spirits to fight against a Qunari threat. Solas isn't messing around this time. He finally has some amount of power to break the Veil and restore a world before it becomes bad. But how will he rise? Thedis knows very little of this Dread Wolf, known as a treacherous, merciless figure that is heavily feared in Dalish tales. Even the evil Evanurus fear it too. This depiction of Solas having pits for eyes and slavering black jaws, they warn those of the terrible danger coming. Wherever the Evanurus are hiding, they are surrounding this Dread Wolf to prevent any attacks. What could be speculated is the factor that Solas and the Dread Wolf could be different aspects of each other, like Corypheus puts an aspect of himself in his Red Lyrium dragon. This could be closer to a Red Lyrium wolf in Solas's case. What if, as described in the Codex, Solas is going to finally reach the place where the Evanurus are hiding, use this aspect of himself, the Dread Wolf, to then rip open the Veil? The Veil has been known recently to be weaker than it has ever since the Breach. Demons seize every opportunity, every tear in the Veil to enter our world. The Breach is living proof of the chaos it can unleash. In hushed whispers was that living proof becoming a reality of what this world can become. But it is theorized that the Veil tends to be weaker in places that feature or have experienced extensive death or the use of magic.
Small tears occur naturally when magic weakens the Veil, or when spirits cluster at an area that has seen many deaths.
The tears occur because spirits are attracted to death and the press against the Veil. The Veil is particularly thin at night, when most people sleep and spirits are most active. The use of blood magic can allow the Veil to be torn so that demons may physically pass through it into the waking world. Once the veil is torn in places, it is extremely difficult to mend, and some might even say impossible. Mending these tears, i.e. strengthening the veil, is extremely difficult. Depending on the level of damage done to the veil, it can be closed through several methods, i.e. the anchor. One place that is particularly known to have the veil thin is Kirkwall. A lot of chaos was constantly influenced upon the city, and that is ultimately where we first located Red Lyrium as well. What is known is that places around Thedis where death and chaos have occurred more than frequent are now further weakening to the veil. For Solas, that only means an easy key to breaking the barrier that separates the Fade from this waking world.
You'd murder countless people.
Wouldn't you to save your own?
The sky may have never healed ever since the Inquisitor sealed the breach, which may prove worth for Solas's plan to destroy the veil. Perhaps his execution to tear down the veil might just become a reality indeed.
And the sky is healed, healthy, whole. There's just that left to remember.
A new dawn is appearing. The dawn is coming upon Thedis. Solas will rise up as the Dread Wolf to tear down the veil, and whether his plans are fully executed could be the end of our time.
You never cared about us. We were the means to an end.
You were people, and you deserved better. Like all the rest I've used in one hopeless battle after another.
She was betrayed as I was betrayed, as the world was betrayed. Mythal clawed and crawled her way through the ages to me, and I will see her avenged!
Theory. I believe that Mythal is the true antagonist of Dragon Age. All-Mother, All-Protector, a voice of reason, who calmed Elgar'non's rage, has been betrayed by her own kin. She is the goddess of justice and is due for her bidding. In ancient times of Arlathan, Mythal was born out of a sea of the earth's tears.
In most stories, Mythal rights wrongs while exercising motherly kindness.
She was an agitator of her elven people, making sure threats were kept at bay and opposers struck down for justice.
Let fly your voice to Mythal, deliverer of justice, protector of sun and earth alike.
Mythal was a speaker for all people and even the Evaneris, yet her actions were recorded to be sinister like the rest of the Evaneris.
Other paint her as dark, vengeful. Pray to Mythal and she would smite your enemies, leaving them in agony.
The Evaneris sometimes caused Mythal to give an edge, a way to take any of them on and win. Hence her dark side was being interpreted in tales. She demonstrates this ability in confrontation with Indruel. So Mythal spread rumors of a monstrous creature and took the form of a great serpent, waiting for Indruel at the base of a mountain. This also makes her nigh impossible to defeat, but she has one glaring weakness, unfortunately, her desire to protect the people. In the time of Arlathan, Titans were threatening the Elven, and Mythal sought out the Titan to stop the chaos of their lands. Hail Mythal, agitator and savior, she has struck down the pillars of the earth and rendered their demesnes unto the people. Praise her name forever. So when the people kill their first Titan, in the process, it unleashed the Blight. The vision grows dark, an aeon seems to pass. Then the runes crackle as if filled with an angry energy. A new vision appears, elves collapsing caverns, sealing the deep roads with stone and magic. Terror, heart-pounding, ice-cold, as the last of the spells is cast. Mythal, having a closer association with the land, the stone, and the Titans, knows exactly what has happened and sacrifices herself to keep the taint at bay. She splits herself into aspects and buries them as a magical seal against the taint, replacing the lost Titan. One aspect she keeps on the surface world to remain among the people. This sacrifice, though, makes her vulnerable, and the other Evaneris did not hesitate to strike.
They killed Mythal. A crime for which an eternity of torment is the only fitting punishment.
Then Solas moves against the Evaneris, creating the Veil and banishing them into their respective prisons until the bidding of Mythal comes, in which she has put herself into aspects that affect chaos throughout the lands, buying time for power, until she becomes one again. It awakens and takes form when an uncorrupted piece of Mythal is bound by a tainted priest, their form becoming malicious and broken, until an effective ritual to retrieve the soul uncorrupted. Flemeth, as we know to be Mythal, has been manipulating the ages ever since. She enforces the effective immortality onto her bodies of her daughters to live an abnormal life to endure the ages, all while...
I have carried Mythal through the ages ever since, seeking the justice denied to her.
Mythal has been quite busy after her death when Solus creates the veil.
So Mythal endures.
Solus is now enforcing her plan. It seems to pain him that his mistakes cause further action to take place with Flemeth.
I am so sorry.
Solus respects Mythal. He once sealed away the Thedosian versions of heaven and hell and shook the world to its foundations in order to avenge her murder. Now, his own mistake, getting the orb to Corypheus, means that he himself will now have to take her life and do her bidding. She plans to seek revenge for the Evanirs. She does not care for the Veil-like world we have. She believes that this world was a last-minute effort against an enemy. She seeks to bring all of it down into the New Age, where she rules, the Dragon Age.
A soul is not forced upon the unwilling, Morrigan. You were never in danger from me.